Hello and welcome to Strike, a weekly podcast talking all things football, hosted by myself, Elgar Johnson.
And me, Boyd Hilton.
Today we'll be discussing the Mo Salah success story,
what will happen to Spurs and Pochettino's demands,
and the two finals, the FA Cup and the Champions League.
Remember, you can get in touch with us via Twitter at BritishGQ, hashtag GQStrike, and also download the Entail app from the App Store, where you can see all the images and links from talking points of today's show. Please also remember to subscribe.
This week we have joined us British photographer and filmmaker Ewan Spencer,
alongside writer and director of Brothers in Football and co-founder of fashion brand Corinthian-Casuals, Chris Watney. Well, we're with Chris Watney and Ewan Spencer. And Ewan is a photographer supreme. Oh. Who have you done recently?
Brian Ferry, my kin.
Wow.
Newcastle, Geordie, local legend. Bit of a turncoat, become part of the aristocracy, but I still love him.
Yeah. And Chris Watney is here, who's the founder of the Corinthians. Explain what the Corinthians are.
Well, the Corinthians, it's a brand that we're doing, Corinthian 1882, which is all about the Corinthian spirit. And it's a heritage brand based on the Corinthian Football Club from the 1890s, 1880s, which spread football around the world.
Cunning. And we should explain, you are a Liverpool fan.
Yeah.
We should have two Liverpool fans. Which is interesting.
And I'm clearly not a Liverpool fan, am I?
Newcastle,
yeah.
You bleed black and white.
Well, yeah, occasionally. Some seasons.
Yeah. So it's as I was saying, it's a huge weekend, the last weekend of the Premier League. Very exciting day. It's been a great season for Newcastle. It's been quite a good season for Liverpool, I suppose.
It's been a really good season for Liverpool.
I'm joking. And were you, well, in terms of Liverpool, should we start with? I mean, there was some tension a little bit, wasn't there? Where there was a moment they could have fallen out of the top four if everything had gone against them. But in the end, it was absolutely fine. And in the end, Mo Salah won Golden Boot, and all your dreams came true, I guess.
It seemed inevitable during the game when Salah scored. You thought, great, job done. But it was a bit worrying beforehand.
I think up till the Huddersfield Chelsea match, I think it was it 1-1? I think I was a little bit nervous, but then I feel like Chelsea completely screwed it, and we just belted Brighton. And, it's great. I want to talk about Salah though, to be honest, because I'm so excited and I'm still in shock by the whole thing because he's just so brilliant. But I get a bit worried that he's not going to be able to do it again. I feel like it. It's like a Milli Vanilli sort of situation. Like it's one good single. Even Charles and Eddie's probably better, actually, isn't it?
Well, that's what Harry Kane kind of like alluded to, though, didn't he?
He would because he's bitter.
Yeah. But yeah, you're right. I mean, Salah, some of the goals have been incredible, and he has missed a lot as well. But it's never at any point completely felt like he is the next Suarez or Torres, or those guys seem to be absolutely world class. And Salah, he's impressed every week, and so we should sort of relax and think it's going to be great from here on in.
Yeah.
But there is that sort of nagging worry that next year, it might just be a one-season wonder.
That thing of sort of believing your own hype a little bit. He's won every single award pretty much, apart from the Ballon d'Or, which he'll probably win if he has a good World Cup, I guess. Or and the last two games actually, previous to the one that just the Brighton game, he actually played terribly. He didn't play very well at all, and it made me feel like, because everyone's been saying he's so this and that, and brilliant and God, that he just didn't. I don't know. He was like just believing his own hype and wasn't.
But I think he
wasn't even running very much.
But I think the Golden Boot was a massive thing for, like, when he scored yesterday, he went mad, which isn't like what he's been doing recently, and I think it was a big weight on his shoulders.
But wasn't he maybe just holding back in those two games because he's got the Champions League final coming out? Wasn't everyone? The whole team I felt was like slightly hampered by that. They were like worrying about getting injured, and I think that was it more than that. There's
definitely nerves there, wasn't there?
But do you think there's any reason? What other reason is there to think it might only be a one-season wonder? I don't think there's many. I don't think there's any.
Personally, I think he's played really well this season from what I've seen of him. But the thing springs to my mind from just personal experience. I just think of Cisse at Newcastle just scoring all those wonderful goals and then just completely disappearing the next season. We've all seen it happen with different players elsewhere. But I mean, Cisse,
Michael Ricketts
was a fair player, but I think Salah just seems like he's got a bit more of a head about him. The thing that will knock him is this league. He's come here into this league, and this league is different from anything else. So if he handles it, then long may it continue, because it's lovely watching him. It's brilliant.
I just don't get a sense that he's the type of. He doesn't feel like the type of player to me that is going to suddenly lose all his attributes, like, because he's so. Do you know what I mean? I feel like I think he's a player who's been blossomed under this manager. He's brought out all his best qualities, and I don't see why it should then.
No, but
that's all those
the
things
team is set up perfectly for him.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely perfectly. And I think whether or not they were resting for the Champions League final, I was up at the game against Roma first leg, and I just don't know how they are able to keep playing at that level. I mean, it was exhausting watching it. I mean, it was unbelievable how they were playing, and they've only got about 11 players fit. So, yes, they're probably resting, but they're probably exhausted and thinking, if we get one more injury in midfield, who's going to play in the final? Yeah. It's a bit worrying, that. And so thankfully we've got to the end of the season. Milner rested yesterday.
Yeah, they've got a couple of weeks now, haven't they?
Yeah, we've got Lallana sort of kind of coming back, but there's no options really.
No.
So they've got one eye on that for sure.
Just with Salah, culturally, how brilliant is it for football? The fact that that you've got someone that people are singing his name and chanting, and it was great to see his wife on the pitch yesterday with his daughter and stuff. How important is that for football?
Yeah, I think it's brilliant. I think I remember a couple of seasons ago there being a big sort of thing on Twitter about how at Liverpool they'd sectioned off a bit of the cop for Muslim fans and all this sort of thing, and it was all like, what's going? And now you got the superstar on the pitch, and I think it's brilliant. I think it's brilliant.
I think that answers the question quite well. What you've just alluded to there. He's someone with depth in his game, I think, and great heritage in his game as well, from the clubs that we just talked about earlier, where he's come from, but also the fact that he's a very stable sort of guy. He's got his faith, and for whatever that means, it obviously means a lot to him, and that's going to give him a lot of security and a sense of grounds in. But also, he's a married man with children. He's got his head together. It sounds like he's got somewhere to go to kind of, I guess, find himself a bit and find a bit of strength to push things forward and find his feet here, in this league. So I think that's probably a good point, isn't it?
Yeah, he's also really likeable. Like you see in interviews.
He seems pretty pleasant.
I think he's more interesting and got more to say than like Harry Kane, for example. I know I'm biased, but Harry Kane is so
Every
boring.
episode there's been a pop at Harry Kane.
Sorry,
I'm censoring that.
he's so boring to me. He's so boring and charmless as well. Like that thing, him having a go at that dig. He did have a little dig at Salah, didn't he? When he said, "Well, I look for consistency every year because you're quite boring." And I think it's much more exciting to have Salah, who is an interesting personality. I think it's important. I know. Obviously, I'll be cheering Kane on when he's playing for England in the World Cup, but right now, between the two of them, I think everyone prefers Salah, and I think that gets to it. I think Kane knows that everyone's totally pro.
Well, it would annoy you because he probably thought he was going to win that Golden Boot from the start of the season. And this guy who's come along, who was a failure at Chelsea, and people think thought he was overpriced and rubbish, has just blown him out of the water. So you would be bitter. I get it.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's talk about his team, because their manager,
yes,
keeps making noises, and
so excited.
It's I feel like Spurs could have Allardyce next season.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. I mean, it's a really interesting thing, isn't it? Though, from the outfront, because they're like the new Arsenal, aren't they? They've got the new stadium, which is already ballooning in terms of tens of millions of pounds costing them. They're on a tight budget, which is always what happened with in the last 10 years of Arsene Wenger's Arsenal, and all the fans got frustrated, and they haven't won anything for years. So I think they're in a really key moment, because if they can't carry on like this, they can't. I don't think he clearly is saying, I'm not going to carry on with hardly any budget and massive stadium, and he wants more investment. Clearly, that's what it's saying.
So what do they do? Do they do Spurs, the chairman there? Do they just give him loads of money now?
I don't think they will.
And what do you buy? I mean, they need. For me, they need something a bit special. I think all their players, everyone talks about Spurs and what an amazing football team and how great they are and all that. But for me, watching them, watching Liverpool, going back to that, it's just exciting watching Salah and Mane and all that. But Spurs, they just, I don't know, it's Dele Alli, Eriksen, Kane, it's all great, but there's no one which really gets you off your seat.
Yeah.
And they need to buy that sort of, that little bit of magic dust, sort of, just to really create something special, which they just don't have. And I don't know how you buy them, because then you've got to drop someone, and who are you going to drop? So it's tough. Unless they sell someone, obviously.
There's always been teams like that, and I think Chelsea were a team like that a few seasons ago. They're stable and they're solid, and they're probably a little bit predictable. But they are. I mean, let's look at where they are. I have to sort of contradict what you're saying a little bit. I have enjoyed watching Tottenham this season from what I've seen.
They're a very good team.
It's clinical. And there's some great technical players in there, some very good technical players. And, Harry Kane is definitely going to make it in that England team, and he probably will shine through. He's still cool as a cucumber, He's very, very good in front of goal.
But are Spurs one of those teams, kind of similar to how Liverpool are? They don't buy superstars bar Van Dijk. I mean, apart from that. They sort of buy players that they will be able to sell on. So they're more of a selling club, I would say, than a team that's going to go out and splash 80 million on the player they need.
Yeah.
So I don't know how they do go forward, because there's unless you've got a really good scouting network there.
Yeah.
And you're very lucky.
Like Newcastle in that way as well. It's definitely a club that is looking for someone to sell to reinvest, isn't it? They're not going to pull any big bucks out from anywhere soon, are they? Especially with buying that stadium.
Yeah. I just don't know what top players would go there.
Well, I think someone like Lamar maybe if they kind of. But I don't think. I think it's more that I don't think the chairman is willing to lash out that kind of money, and it's the wages. The whole wage structure is incredible, isn't it? They have no players still on more than like 150 grand.
It's mad.
It's extraordinary, and I don't see. I mean, on one level, it's.
I kind of agree with it,
and I agree with you. I think they're a machine. I think they play brilliant football at their best, but they are a machine. You know exactly what everyone's going to do, which is why it works. But equally, I agree with you. I think someone coming in who's a flair player who is unpredictable would shake things up. But I don't feel they're ever going to go down that route. So I feel they're always going to be in this like top four, vying for top four, but without actually being good enough to challenge City or even Liverpool.
But where they are is amazing for them.
Yeah, of course.
They haven't won really. I mean, I don't want to do them down, but they haven't really won anything ever, really.
That's a weird position to be
in modern day.
In history.
Yeah. I mean, it's 20 years since an FA Cup, 10 years since a League Cup.
Double in 61.
Yeah, they're doing amazingly for anyone with a recent memory. So they should be happy.
They should be. I agree with that. And you're talking about winning stuff. And Gascoigne was in the stands yesterday, wasn't he? And I found that kind of. I was trying to work out what the point of that was, or was it just? I mean, him fulfilling something in himself. I don't know. Just a great day out. But he just, is that when the last time they won the FA Cup? Was it?
Yeah.
I mean, where are we going? That's
91.
Yeah. I mean, that's
a long time. Yeah. And now their fans are all, the cups don't matter. It's all about the league and the Champions League, but they're not going to win either of those. It's a real conundrum. I think I think it's the most interesting big club. What do they do?
They're going to take a few quid from that.
Yeah, right.
And is that they're just going to keep then that sort of money is an investment back into the club that's not going to buy a flair player. So,
then you keep repeating this. This is what happened to us. We repeated the same thing.
I was going to say, they don't want to get stuck in that rut of just being successful by getting into the top four.
Yeah, and on one hand, you're right. The fans should be happy with that, but the reality is, once you start doing the same thing year after year after year, it gets boring. It does get boring.
Yeah. And you know too well.
And I know all too well.
But I think I'm right in saying that when the Premier League started, Spurs paid the highest wages.
I think so.
And that didn't work.
In 92.
When they got like the Klinsmann and Gary Lineker, and they got big players in those days, and they were paying big money, and they won nothing with it.
Yeah.
And so I guess they're trying a wiser approach to it, but I don't know. Who knows what happened?
Did Conte sabotage Chelsea? Because I think he did.
It looks that way, doesn't it?
Because basically they had to win that game against Huddersfield. They left their best player, easily their best player, Eden Hazard, on the bench. Giroud, who'd been scoring goals for them consistently over the last few games, he was on the bench, and I think Victor Moses was on the bench. Like, he completely changed the team and put out a dud team.
Are you saying he sabotaged it for the sake of the FA Cup?
I think he sabotaged it because he's like, I'm not going to be here next season, and you don't deserve to be in the Champions League. And I'm going to put it out there.
Don't you think he's sabotaging it because he wants the rest of the team to get the FA Cup? He wants a bit of silverware.
I actually don't. I think that was such an important game. If they'd won that game, that was a lot of pressure on Liverpool. Mm-hmm. A lot more pressure than there was on Sunday. Yeah. And I generally think that he'll give them the FA Cup, hopefully, because hopefully they'll beat United. But I think he was like, but you're not having Champions League. Mm-hmm. What does everyone think about that?
This kind of it sort of demotes Newcastle a little bit. So I'm going to. I don't know what to say here. I thought we were all over them yesterday. It was wonderful.
Well, I think you were. You were totally.
And they were.
But I think they knew at that point as well. They weren't going to
Do you think?
Yeah, I think they knew they didn't really have anything to play for in terms of that, because I think Liverpool were always going to win.
Do you think
they were never going to lose.
Most Liverpool fans I've been speaking to were slightly nervous about Brighton. I was kind of surprised by that.
It would have been one of the biggest shocks in football if they'd lost, because
Right.
they had to lose.
Yeah. It wasn't a draw, was it?
They hadn't lost at home all season. If Brighton had gone there on the last day, then that would have been really
A
embarrassing.
certain section of fans are always going to be negative and think you're going to lose every game going into it. It's like the Roma one, 5-2 up, and everyone thought we were going to lose. That was a losing position almost. So that was normal. But I'm surprised Chelsea didn't at least win their game.
It was weird. I think it was really weird, his team selection. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So
Really
I think
odd.
if he'd have done it the other way around, if you played his strongest team in the Huddersfield game, because that's the first one, and that, by the way, at least 10 days away from the cup final, so you can't worry about it for every game.
No.
Then see what happens and see how you do with Newcastle. But he did the other, and that everyone is absolutely incredulous. I know one of my best friends is a Chelsea fan, and he kind of agrees with you. He thinks that Conte, almost subconsciously, the whole season he's spent complaining about he hasn't got the players he wanted, he hasn't got the power he wants, and clearly isn't happy and probably will leave. So subconsciously, almost like he may have screwed it up for them.
That's some bitchy behaviour there, isn't it? That's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, it's Chelsea though, and you do get that feeling that there is that vibe going on.
Yeah, I mean, this is the club where the entire team rebelled against Mourinho, didn't they? And they fell out of the top 10 or whatever. I mean, that was incredible.
Yeah, and Conte's his body language is gone, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's completely gone.
Yeah, completely.
You saw that yesterday, wasn't he? Just looked lost, didn't he, a little bit? Yeah, wasn't there?
Should we talk about Newcastle?
Yeah, if you don't mind, is that all right?
Of course.
Yeah.
Great season.
How do you feel about Newcastle? Because I think it is a really successful little season for them, actually.
Yeah, I agree.
Because no one spends any money on them.
Yeah, I mean, what is it? We've got this sort of only bank balance. I think we're one of the only teams with a bank balance that's always in the kind of we're always in the black, aren't we? So,
Arsenal.
I think, yeah, of course,
We've got loads of money.
Just don't want to spend it.
Yeah,
and I think we've had I think with the side that we've had. Our greatest player being on 2 reds this season, one of our best player of the season of the squad, being on 2 reds, which probably didn't help us at all. But I still have a lot of love for John Joe Shelby.
You're the first person to come on the podcast that likes him.
Really?
Yeah.
I like him a lot. I think he's a great player. I don't think he's going to get in the England squad because of his temperament. I think he'd be a benefit to them. They need someone like that.
Is that what's holding him back? Just for temperament?
I think so, yeah. I mean, if you look at the way he plays...
He has played really well, I think, this season.
He's been incredible this season. I mean, he's wonderful.
Until this season, he has been inconsistent, hasn't he? Like, he'd had brilliant games, and then he kind of...
He did
whereas
that,
this season, he's been...
He did that for Liverpool as well when he was there. Sometimes he was like, golden boy, and then he was terrible.
Same as Swansea. He was the same there as well. If I watched him there, he was very similar there. Sometimes he'd turn up, you'd be nervous when you watch him play. Like, whoa. His distribution and his passing is reminiscent of Waddle or Ginola, well, more Ginola, I guess. But he's a very, very good player. I've really enjoyed Richie up front. There's a lot of spirit there. He's turned it around. He's become something of a goal scorer, and just the work on him, the engine on him has been fantastic. Perez, being top scorer at the end there, and Dwight Gale's come off the bench a few times and made an impact.
He scored a couple of goals yesterday, didn't he?
I think he got one, didn't he?
Did he get just one? Maybe it was just one. Maybe it was Perez got a couple, didn't he?
That was it was a great game yesterday, but I mean, it was a lot of fun. It's been a great season.
What's your centre back? What's he called? Lachelle.
Lachelle, yeah.
I think he's really good.
Yeah.
And for me, he's a little bit of a dark horse to go to the World Cup. I would select him. I think he's better than John Stones. I think John Stones is one of the most overrated footballers in the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
What do you think about him? Because there's loads of people linked to him. Even Liverpool being linked to him now.
I mean, he's shone, hasn't he, in the back 4?
Yeah.
He's done very well. He's supported him and the keeper. I think I've got a great. And that keeper, I keep forgetting his name. Sorry, he's only come in sort of halfway through the season, hasn't he? And I can't quite remember his name. I can't pronounce it. I'm a bit embarrassed. But
Shay Given.
I think
if only it was Shay Given.
I think those two. I mean, he's been outstanding. He's like a cat there at the back, and I think Lachelle and him have communicated really well, and they've kind of held it together. I mean, we haven't been too leaky. If you look at the other teams, where we are, they've been a bit cavalier, and they've leaked a lot, and we haven't.
Is that the secret of Benitez as manager, that he strengthened the defence first and kind of, because Newcastle's always been a bit.
We've always been midfield heavy, of late, over the last 10 years. But I think he seems to have found something in defence. In Diame as well. Right. I think he's made someone like Diame shine as well.
He's really
what is he, 2.5 as a sign-in, he's playing like someone who's a lot higher than that in terms of, it's a bit crass to talk about value like that, but he's a great player, and he's really, I think if you think about him and then Lascelles there behind him, that's power, isn't it? That's very, very good going forward. And then Shelvey's distribution, that's really helped us.
What's going to happen with Newcastle though? Can they keep hold of Benitez? Because I think he's such a good manager.
I'm convinced.
Yeah.
If he's gone down with us last season and he's come back up with Brighton, look where Brighton's ended up. And all respect to Brighton for remaining up and doing what they've done, and taking a few wallopings like we have over the season. There's been some kind of embarrassing moments, but the fans love him. And he stuck with us. He came back up. Ashley said he'd spend, didn't quite come through. Will Rafa tolerate that again? Will he be bitten? Not be bitten twice? I don't know.
I think it's quite a good time to go.
Do you think on a high?
Yeah, it's not going to get much better.
Don't say that. I think it's sad.
Sorry to burst your bubble, but
you finished 10th, which on Newcastle, even with a bit of spending, are they going to get much higher than that? There isn't a lot of places that you can go, really.
I think if they invested well,
and you
this
got
year,
Arsenal job.
Arsenal, God knows what's going to happen to them next season.
Sadly, he hasn't been linked to Arsenal. He's one of the few. He's one of the few. He should be. I'll be happy with him. Yeah, I'd be thrilled. But instead we're going to get.
I hope he stays. I'd love Rafa to stay and. Really
it must be a big danger that he goes. Doesn't it all come down to
let's face it, he's going to want to stay in this league.
Of course.
Where else is he going to go? He's not going to go to Arsenal.
There might be a few jobs up for grabs, mightn't there?
Do you think over the summer?
Spurs.
Yeah.
There's that Everton rumour as well.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
There's some big clubs.
And he's still based in the northwest, isn't he?
Yeah.
So now you've got me.
I mean, I can't see him going.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Really worrying you.
Who'd go to Everton?
Yeah. I just worry about his relationship with the owners. That's what it's going to come down to.
Yeah.
Can you put up with that?
Yeah, and let's face it, he's a contentious individual, isn't he?
Yeah.
That's the best way of putting
Ashley put out a press release, didn't he? He put out
did.
one saying he was going to give him all this money last night.
Yeah, last night.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
That felt like a desperate attempt.
You're on the line. That's amazing.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, no, I thought you're right. They showed it on Match of the Day.
I feel like he said that last season.
He does.
I did mention he did offer a lot last season when we were coming back up. But I think, I'll reiterate, to come back up and finish there. I mean, I had real dreams of 8th. That's how desperate it has been a Newcastle United supporter these days. I was like dreaming of 8th. But
almost Europa League.
Let's talk about managers, but there's all sorts of managers going all over the place. But I feel like this summer's going to be like probably the most turbulent time for managers in the Premier League. Where can we see sort of the exciting moves happening?
It'll be amazing who goes to Arsenal.
Yes.
That'll be interesting.
Arteta.
That's the big talking point.
I can't believe
the current betting as we speak. Arteta is the firm favourite.
He's clear favourite.
It's really disturbing.
When Pep got sent off in the Roma in the Liverpool City game in the Champions League, and the camera cut to Arteta on the bench, he looked. I'm sorry, he didn't look prepared to take on such a challenge.
He
looked lost.
It's everyone. All the football journalists I speak to tell me Arteta's the favourite now. Allegri, I think Allegri's already said something this morning because he won obviously his latest double yesterday.
Pep's not even fighting for it because he in the interview was
like,
if he wants to go, then he's my mate. So
it's really just it's ridiculous. And I think the whole structure of the club is built around bringing in a young, malleable manager who won't demand to spend loads of money. Whereas if it was Allegri, it's between the two of them apparently, incredibly, and that alone is ridiculous because they couldn't be more different.
No,
an experienced legend who's built up Juventus to this incredible force, and a guy who's never managed a Premier League match ever.
Yeah.
And yet they all say they're going for Arteta because he's cheaper and more malleable, and I can see it. I think but people say when Wenger arrived he hadn't won any. He was unknown, but he'd won loads of stuff with Monaco. George Graham had done a brilliant job with Millwall. So those comparisons are stupid. I'm really furious about the whole thing.
It's really strange. It's like the Klopp assistant. Buvac.
Yes.
That was talked about for a while.
I'm never weird.
When that's died away now, that rumour.
But through the fact that he's worked so many years, 17 years with Klopp and all, but it's the personality of these guys that make them such incredible managers. You can have the tactical nous that Klopp's got, but have you got the personality to drive forward a changing
And you look at the elite teams in Europe, even in our league, all of like the Liverpool and Spurs and Man City and United, they've all got elite, powerful, charismatic managers. Arteta is not that person.
Yeah, Ferguson had a lot of number 2s.
Yeah,
who weren't
and they were all
particularly
rubbish
great number 1s
as managers. Terrible
Yeah.
number 1s. Yeah, great number 2s become terrible number 1s. I
Yeah.
think it's true.
Yeah.
Well, we've laid that to rest.
You could end up with Mark Hughes.
Oh, don't.
You know what I found really funny was David Moyes actually talking about West Ham. And he said that he wants to manage a top 8 team. It's like, you did.
Yeah.
You ruined them.
Yeah.
It was brilliant.
Yeah, I think it's so interesting how apparently they all hate Allardyce. They were chanting against
Yeah.
him, weren't they?
I'm not surprised.
I mean, he is.
No one likes
Allardyce,
Allardyce,
does
do
he?
they?
Does even like when he did a good job keeping teams up? Did they even like him? It's such a kind of
Yeah.
He just sums up a certain approach, doesn't he? That
He's a bit old-fashioned, I think.
Yeah.
He's not very likeable, really.
No, he's just,
But I think it's an outsider for Arsenal.
do you?
Yeah.
Oh, I hope you're right.
I keep Vieira. I keep scratching my head about
I see,
Vieira.
I'd be happier with Vieira than
I
Arteta.
think I would as well.
Vieira has got charisma.
He's got experience.
And
And also, he's managed a team.
Right,
Yeah.
actually, and he is a legend. Arsenal legend was Arteta. Was the one Arteta coming to us was when we declined into mediocrity. So
He was the Joe Allen of Arsenal.
It was the Joe Allen.
Imagine how loved he would be to come back as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
He's one of the outstanding
Absolutely.
players of that club.
And we
isn't
need
he?
a manager who's going to unite the fans because we're all completely mad and divided and arguing with each other. So.
And he was one of the guys that was there when you were winning everything,
Oh,
wasn't
he
he?
was
He was
absolute
the sort of linchpin, wasn't he?
peak of all of that whole thing. Winning the double. That
If I would bet, if I were a betting man,
have you actually looked at the betting? Or you
this
is just your own feeling.
because I know he's an outsider.
Yeah.
I know he's definitely an outsider.
He is an outsider.
But I think he'd be a good flutter.
Well, I hope you're right. I
yeah,
really hope you're right.
I really think he would.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
He'd have the respect, wouldn't he, of the change
Oh, he
room?
would. Yeah.
They'd all.
So he's currently, I'll tell you now, he's currently
true.
14-1 outsider. Is
Is
the
he?
actual betting at the moment as we speak. Yeah.
I've got £2.20. I might put that.
Have a bet. Yeah, you never know.
But yeah, obviously it comes down to personality and all that. But it's like a Roy Keane taking over United, or and Stevie Gerrard taking over Liverpool. Yeah, it's a gamble.
But even those examples, they're legendary players.
Yeah.
Arteta is not one. So
No,
he's
but
only
if
got
Vieira took it.
Oh, if Vieira, sure. Of course.
Yeah.
I agree.
So all the fans are immediately behind it. It unifies them, like you say.
Yeah.
But it is a big
It
gamble.
is quite weird. It's like Salif Diao taking over Liverpool.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
You're exactly right. Yeah. Or Joe Allen. Or Joe bloody Allen.
Or Igor Bishkan.
I think fair to him. I think he's got a bit more charisma, and he's got a bit of a nous about him.
Arteta.
Vieira.
Oh, Vieira.
Yeah.
Totally. I agree
I'm not
with you.
discussing
Yeah.
Arteta. I just think
sorry.
Arteta's a terrible
No, Vieira
idea.
completely.
Why
Yeah.
is Arteta so talked about? Is there something we
Well,
don't
apparently
know?
he's made.
He's made some noise about it, hasn't he?
He's made some noise about it. He's mates with Ivan Gazidis, is the theory, who's essentially the one who makes the decision, Arsenal. And so, people have put two and two together. I can see Arsenal going, he's a promising young person we can use. Anyway, but there are big games we should preview, shouldn't we, before we run out of time? The cup finals.
Yeah, well, there's the one at the weekend, isn't there? The FA Cup.
You don't care about that, do you? No. Does anyone care about Chelsea, Man? I feel my only thing I care about is my two least favourite teams in the world are playing, and I can't work out which one I want to lose least.
No, I want Chelsea to win.
Do you?
Yeah,
Okay.
because I just couldn't.
Of course
I
you
couldn't
hate Man
bring
Arsenal.
it.
Yeah, right, there's the Champions League final, wasn't there, when John Terry fell over? That was a good evening.
That was a great evening.
But
Missed
yeah,
the
I
ball
don't know.
completely, didn't he?
Yeah, I think I probably want Chelsea because I'm not. Yeah, I don't. Jose, I don't.
I just couldn't
Get on with
imagine.
Jose, yeah. What about you? Do you have a strong feeling?
I'm coming a little bit from where Elgar's coming from, I think, in that I'm not really too bothered about the FA Cup for this season. Sounds a bit dry to me, really, that fixture. I'd more than happy to talk about the Champions League final.
Yeah, well, go on then.
Very excited about that.
It's incredibly exciting.
That again is just sort of epitomises, I think, just what Liverpool have been all about this season again. And going into the Roma game, as you said, what was that,
5-2?
Incredible. Just again, it whiffs of that night in Turkey, doesn't it? It's in Istanbul. Sorry, it's just brilliant. It's very, very exciting. Go on, Elgar.
What are our predictions
Go on.
for this game?
I think I tell you, I think Liverpool are going to win. I'm absolutely convinced.
Confidently.
And the
Confident,
score?
Yeah.
very confident. I think it's going to be like 3-1 to Liverpool.
I'm 3-0
Really?
for Liverpool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to agree. I kind of think it could be a ridiculous scoreline. We could absolutely smash them, but at the same time, it is Real Madrid, and you can't go in thinking like that. I mean, it's going to be Ronaldo and all that. It could be terrifying.
So, what are you going to say?
4-0. in 10 minutes, and then it'll be about 5-4 at the end or something. It'll be a crazy game. I think it'll be obviously a lot of goals. Neither team can really defend.
You still haven't predicted.
You haven't said the score.
You're still.
All right. I'm going to say 3-1. Yeah, I'll go with you.
Oh, to Liverpool. Okay. Nice.
Don't you think Liverpool can defend? Do you think they're a bit sort of gung-ho?
No, they can, but as soon as they let in one, then they get very obviously terrified
bit nervous,
and let in a few more.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure about the keeper, not sure about Lovren, But Trent and Robertson on the fullbacks is brilliant. Van Dijk's been brilliant.
Yeah, I'm going to go with 1-0 to Liverpool.
So safe. Sorry.
At least you're confident.
I'm going to go 1-0. I think it's not going to be as exciting as everyone thinks.
Why? Too much nerves.
I don't know. I just got a weird feeling.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Liverpool will cope with them.
I think Madrid are going to be shocked.
Yeah.
At the power and excitement in that Liverpool side. I don't think they're ready for it.
No, I agree. I agree with that. I think no one can quite understand how fast they play the game. They just blow teams away.
And also, is Ronaldo fit?
Well,
he didn't play at the weekend, did he?
Is it his ankle?
Yeah.
And I also think Madrid, when you've seen them when they've played the best kind of teams like Liverpool this season, they have failed. They're not the force they were, I think. And what this means is, in a couple of weeks' time,
I'd be more concerned with playing Atletico than I would do Real Madrid.
Yeah. So in a couple of weeks' time, when you win the Champions League, that team and manager are instant legends, aren't they?
Yeah. But we want the league. Great, Europe, brilliant.
Oh God!
But you want the league. That's what you want.
But
we always do well in
Champions
Europe.
League.
We're amazing in Europe.
It was
Kings of Europe. Anyway, so let's talk about what's going on next. What's happening with you next, Ewan? What are you up to?
What, in my life?
In your life.
Oh, wow.
Not just today, though. Just like in general.
I've got a new book coming out. I've got a history of publishing photographic books of my kind of archive, if you like, because I'm constantly making pictures.
And you're very old.
I'm ancient, and so I've got a bit of a stable of images that goes way back.
What's the book going to be called?
The book is going to be. I'm actually making it in collaboration with a guy called Gabba Eleganza, who's an Italian Milanese guy who's now moved to Berlin because he is a musician and DJ under the name of Gabba Eleganza, and he is like a hardcore kind of Gabba DJ. So he kind of combines contemporary sounds, like he'll play like hip hop stuff and grime and other kinds of sounds alongside very traditional kind of hardcore sounds. I'm not a fan of hardcore, I'll admit that, but my heritage, my background is very much in soul music, and I sort of grew up on the northern soul scene, and I photographed that for about 2 years in the mid-90s when I was studying photography at Brighton, and that work he's very keen on. Somehow he's seen it, I don't remember where and when, probably on a social media or something, and he wants to make a book out of that, but then I've also photographed the happy hardcore scene for my sins in and around London in the late 90s, and Milton Keynes, one of the little raves like that, Milton Keynes
That might be in that book.
Yeah,
so
this is right up Elgar. Yeah,
I must say it's quite interesting. The happy hardcore scene around that time, there was a big kind of thing for wearing your team's shirt.
Yeah.
So I've got a theory that any fella over the age of 12, 13 shouldn't really be wearing a football shirt unless he's on a football pitch. I mean, not everyone agrees with that, but it's my little sartorial kind of stringent, not sartorial.
Elgar does wear a football shirt.
I mean, but he looks great.
And that is a personal attack.
But Elgar, you put him in a bin bag. He looks great, doesn't he? I mean, look at him. It's horrible.
Thank you very much.
It's horrible. And that's my new project. So we're going to combine the happy hardcore scene and the northern soul scene pictures, and it's going to come out with a mixtape with Northern Soul one side, happy hardcore the other side. I'll be doing the Northern Soul soundtrack and the listing, and Gabba Eleganza Alberto will be doing the hardcore side, and that's going to come out through the record company he's signed to later this year. Watch this space.
Bloody hell.
Beat that. I mean, just saying.
On to you, Chris.
Just saying, Chris, can you match? Are you bringing out a book and mixtape together?
I'm bringing out a film.
Hey!
There we go.
You've done him.
Yeah. I'm just finishing a film that we've been directing, I've directed and been making for the last 4 years. It's going out on BT Sport. on the 10th of November this year to mark the 100 years of the end of the First World War. And so, yeah, we're busy at BT Sport at the moment, just putting finishing touches to that, which is really exciting.
What's the film about? Tell us a bit more about the film.
Okay, so the first icons of world football were the Corinthians football team, who are credited with popularising football all around the world. And in 1910, they took football to Brazil and they spread it around Brazil. And in 1914, they were going to Brazil again when the First World War broke out. And so they had to return immediately and join the army, and they lost a record number of men in the First World War. And so we took the current club that still hold on to that name, the Corinthian-Casuals, who are an amateur team, and we took them back to Brazil to fulfill the matches that never happened 100 years ago, playing against Corinthians Paulista in Sao Paulo in front of millions on Brazilian live TV and that sort of thing. And yeah, it was an amazing event. And then it all ends with them laying poppy wreaths at the battlefields of the Somme and Ypres, and where all the original Corinthians lost their lives. So yeah, it's a lovely film, and that comes out in November. So we're sort of working on that.
Brilliant story.
Yeah, it's a lovely film, and so that's what we're doing with the brand, which is basically trying to make the most of the Corinthian spirit and bring those sort of values back, because obviously modern day football isn't always sort of hand in hand with those sort of sportsmanship.
No,
I have a slight disappointment in the that you're spreading the truth of the matter, that the Corinthians spread the word of football.
Yeah.
And I've been trying to convince everyone for the last 30 years that it was Newcastle. And that there's actually some miners from Durham that went around the world and just, but it's okay. The game's up.
Yeah, I'm afraid so. But it's an amazing story. I mean, not a lot of people know what the Corinthians were actually, what they did, and they're the only club to ever represent England entirely. The first black player was a Corinthian, the first African player was a Corinthian, and etc. etc. Real Madrid play in white because of them. They're a real national treasure, which England should be really proud of, because they really did give the world this amazing sport. And thankfully, BT Sport have come in a bit like the White Knight and saved it, because it's been 5 years in the making, and didn't think it was going to get there. Yeah. And BT have put it on for Remembrance Day this year for the 100 years, which is incredible.
Well, that is
fantastic. Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thanks to Chris and Ewan. Yeah. Cheers.
Thank you.
Cheers.
That's all from us today. Thank you to our guests, Ewan and Chris.
Also, a big thank you to Entail, who are producing the podcast, which you can see at gq-magazine.co.uk or download the Entail app.
Please do get involved via Twitter at BritishGQ, #GQStrike, and remember to subscribe. Thanks to all our listeners, who will be here same time next week.